Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kristen and I am the creator behind DoSo Knits, and this is my channel where I share with you guys how knitting has interwoven into my day-to-day life. I live in Denver, Colorado with my husband and our two animals, Sherlock and Ebony. So today's video is my monthly stash in and stash out video. So in these I like to go over yarn that I got out of my stash, which I am sitting in front of, by either finishing projects or yarn that I have destashed throughout the month. And then I like to show the yarns that I bring into the stash. So basically a little bit of a yarn haul for the month, showing you the new things that I brought in, what I'm excited about. And then I keep track of how much I get out versus how much I bring in, with the goal being for the year to use more than what I bring in. That's the whole goal. So this is the August stash in and stash out. So we're into the fourth quarter of the year now with September. That's really crazy. Whereas 2022 gone. So I might do a little recap. I count skeins, full skeins in my stash. And when I finish skeins for projects, I count the full skeins out. So if I'm knitting a sweater and I only use 20 of 100 grams, I still count that as a full skein out of my stash. And then any scraps that I use in projects or mini skeins, I don't count toward my stash. And if I use them in projects, they also don't count as a skein out. I only count full skeins because that's the easiest thing to track. I only have so much room for my scraps. I have like a 3-drawer Tupperware, and usually when that starts getting pretty full, I either find uses for that yarn or donate it, like stash swaps, or I usually use that up pretty quickly. I don't let that get too big. So my main focus is full skeins of yarn. So that's kind of the method to my madness. I track everything on this little expo board. It just lives in here, right? This is my yarn stash here. It lives right here against this wall, and I write on it. It's out. I can see how much I've done change-wise for the year, and then for the month I keep out and in, and then what I'm at for the month, and then what that will make my year total to be. So that's kind of how I track that. Also, just figured September is a good month to do a recap on that. Yeah, so let's get started. I had a decent month for getting stash out, I think. So I brought the first one with me. The first thing I finished this month was my stratified sweater. I did not have this to show with me on my last podcast episode, so I'll show it here. But this used 6 skeins from my stash, 6 skeins of Retrosaria by Roa yarn. It was a worsted weight woolen spun yarn from Portugal, one of my favorites that I've worked with. The sweater is so light, and I think it's really stinking cute. I'm really excited for it to cool down so I can wear it a bit more. And then the next thing I finished was my Grand Gestures shawl, which is an exclusive pattern for Hookah Canyon's Patreon group. It used 1 skein from my stash. I used Birch Hollow's Sojourner sock in the color Oatmeal, and that was a Romney nylon and merino blend, I believe. It's linked in my project page in Ravelry down below if you want to look at it. I will talk about it more on my next podcast episode too. I try to go quickly here through projects. And so it used 1 skein of that plus 10 mini skeins from my Row 1 mini collection that I had. So it only counts as 1 skein out, but I did use 1 skein and 10 minis. My next project I finished was my August Desert Vista Dyework socks. So that used 1 skein of yarn as well. And then I finished my final pair of socks for summer sock camp. It was my Campfire socks, which was a sock set from Bumblebee Acres called Campfires and Fireflies. It had a mini skein as well. So that's 1 skein out from my stash as well. So with all those projects, that brings me down to -9 skeins out. And like I kind of mentioned briefly, but all of those projects are linked down in the description box below. So if you'd like to see photos or more information about them, you can go check out my Ravelry project pages. Otherwise, either check out my last podcast episode to hear about my stratified sweater, or check out my next podcast episode, which should be coming out in about a week, to hear about those last 3 projects, because I have finished all of them, so I'll be talking about them in the next podcast episode. Each month, I also track any yarns that I destash. I post all my destash yarns on my Ravelry page. There's an option in Ravelry where you can mark yarns as to trade or sell. So I have those listed up there, and sometimes I use other groups like a Facebook group to destash as well. But all in all, through the month, I got 6 skeins of destash out. So for the month, 15 skeins of stash out. This might be one of the first months through the year that my knitting stash was higher than my destash stash. Usually destashing is a bit faster than knitting stash out, so that's pretty exciting to see. Okay, now we can move into stash that I brought in, and I have some good goodies this month. So the first skeins that I got in this month, I did mention in my last podcast episode, but I'll mention it here again because it was brought in this month. I have started a project with it, but this is the Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy, and this is in one of their exclusive colorways they did. They did a collaboration with Madeline Tosh, and they did 2 specific colorways, one blue, which is this one, Future Reflections, and then another yellow color. These are limited edition, only a couple stores in the United States have them. I work at Fancy Tiger Crafts in Denver, and we are one of the stores that carried this, and I'm working on the Winter's Beach Cardi by Andrea Mallory, and I'll show more about it in my next episode. But 7 skeins of this in to do that cardigan, and I've already started on it, so I'm already working through the first skein, but the tweed is so much fun. It's really fun to work up and see all the tweed bits as you're knitting, like coming to them. It's like, I don't know if anyone else ever saw this study tip where if you have to read something every so many paragraphs, you put like a gummy bear or a piece of candy to keep yourself reading. And this has a similar effect and vibe. You just kind of want to knit and see what little pop of tweed comes next, because all of the tweed is from scrap threads and yarns that are sent to Hedgehog Fibers. And so for this collaboration, they're all Madeline Tosh tweed scraps, and it's really fun. So I got 7 skeins of this, Future Reflections. This is a DK weight yarn. It's 50% Falkland merino wool, 37.5% recycled wool, and then 12.5% of the Madeline Tosh thread waste. So pretty cool, and the Hedgehog label is always so stunning. Such a cool label. So those are the first 7 skeins that I brought in. I then also got influenced by the sale at the literal store that I work at. So there was a yarn crawl in August, and so for the first weekend of the yarn crawl, we put La Biana Me yarn that we carry on sale, and I've been looking at this for a while, and I decided to get it. So this is La Biana Me Kumo. This is their Surrey base. It is 74% baby Surrey alpaca and 26% mulberry silk. Lace weight yarn, 328 yards. This is the colorway Dusk. It's so good. It's so soft, and I feel like it's like a good, like neutral base, like a brown base with really fun colors throughout it. And my plan for this is to do a balloon cardigan by Petite Knit. I have this brown color in my stash that I might hold underneath, but I'm still up for debate on what I'm gonna do. This is Wool of the Andes Sport. I don't know the color, but So I got 6 skeins of this to make the balloon sweater. I might only need 5, but I bought 6 just to be safe. The next thing I got in is really exciting. So as a Patreon member of a homespun house, there's a tier where you can get a sock set in addition to some mini skeins. So these are the mini skeins for the month. They're so cute. The colors are Barefoot in the Park, Kiss Kiss, and Bubble Yum. I love watching Molly use her minis for different, like one is a cuff, one is a heel, and one is a toe. And one of these socks that I knit soon is gonna have that. I keep using sock sets or my Desavista Dye Works, but I need to cast on a pair of like neutral socks or just socks that I can play with some minis, because these are really fun. But what I'm really excited about is the sock set that came for June. So this is the 75% superwash merino base and 25% nylon. It's a 70-gram sock set. So 50 grams of your main skein and 20 grams of the mini. This color is so good. It's called Summer Sunrise and Ditzy. Definitely reminds me of like a warm summer day, but in like the best ways. I think it's so good, and like, look at that. This little tie-dye effect. That's what that looks like. Ah, this is so good. This color came and I was so excited to see it. These probably need to start like this month. Ugh, I love these so much. I might try to find another. Maybe these will be like fingerless mitts, because I love the color so much, and in the winter a really bright fingerless mitt would be so cute. I think that's what these might have to be. Something that I can show off. So yeah, that is the exclusive colorway for Patreon members for the month of June. So good. The next thing I got in was from Bumblebee Acres. The first time I used Bumblebee Acres was for those campfire socks, and I got it for Summer Sock Camp as an exclusive color from Crazy Sock Lady. Fell in love with the Corriedale base, which is so good. And then Bumblebee Acres had a Halloween update. And I'm not necessarily like a big Halloween person. However, I'm a big fall person. And I don't know. I just wanted to hop on the bandwagon for Halloween yarn. So I did, and I placed an order. So this first one is the same sock base that my campfire sock was in. So it's on the Coquette sock base. This is the color. This is so good. It's called Haunted Wood. So it's 75% superwash Corriedale wool and 25% nylon. It's just really good tooth, really great to work with. I think these socks are just going to wear so well, and I just like that the color's neutral-ish, but fun. I think it's going to knit up really cool. So excited to work on these. And then I also got one of her squishy DK bases. This is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. It's a DK weight, and the color is Pumpkin Ghoul. So this will definitely be socks. I've been really enjoying knitting DK socks. I don't have a ton of DK sock yarn in my stash. This is the only DK bin that I have, and some of it is not sock yarn. Like, that's not a sock yarn. All these 6 here aren't a sock yarn. This is not a sock yarn. So definitely wanted to get a little more DK with some nylon in it to make sure it's hard wearing. Also, this color is just so fall and so good. So grabbed that one as well. The next thing that came was actually a giveaway that I won. So within the Huga Canyon membership, there's a couple different tiers and different giveaways that Kim does all the time. There's so many. Honestly, I miss entering into half of them because I don't always read Discord But I caught this one. This one was such a sweet giveaway, and I ended up winning, so which was amazing. So the giveaway I ended up winning was this book, A Shoe Story, which is, I'll just read the little like top line. A young woman has 1 month and a closet full of shoes to discover the future she thought she'd lost in a captivating story of second chances. So it's about a woman leaving a small town, heading to New York, and what happens when she gets there. So I'm excited to dive into this. The Hookah group is a read and knit kind of group, so her patterns will be literary inspired that come out, like the Grand Gesture shawl that I had knit. We read Book Lovers and a couple other rom-com type books, along with some rom-com watch parties, which I missed, but lots of fun things happening there. But also, in addition to the book, I also got this skein of yarn from Sorella, and it's just a really good navy neutral, really nice high twist fingering weight base, one of my favorites. 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon, 400 yards, 100 grams. I've not used Sorella's yarn, but the label is so cute. And it's just a good navy color that'll be good paired in a shawl, in something else, or as like a really nice classic pair of socks. So thank you so much, Kim, for this. Your giveaways are always stunning and amazing, and it's always so thrilling to win one. Thank you so much, and I'm excited to dive into this. Also, if you're not in Kim's group and you love books and reading and connecting with other people, it's a really, really lovely space to be. Lovely people are in there. It's always a good place to go at the end of the day if you've had a stressful day or just need a place to go. It's a great place. Anyway, that is that. So my next skein of yarn is also a giveaway skein of yarn, which it's weird that this happened twice in 1 month, but for the Desert Vista Dye Works monthly knit along, at the 6-month mark, you can get a free skein of yarn of your choice. And so I picked this color. This is the color Spaceship Earth. It's one of her variegated colors instead of one of her self-striping colors. It's one I've looked at a lot of times and thought it was really fun. I definitely have a lot of black theme happening this month. But this is on her Viso base, which is a fingering weight yarn, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So, a good one for that. And then I did a thing. I was watching the Needles at the Ready podcast, and Kevin was showing some fades that he dyed. I think they started with like an orange one, and I was like, oh, that's so good. It looks good. Good job, Kevin. Way to learn how to dye a fade. Wow, like good, like, it looked good, but it's just orange, not my color. Then he showed a blue one, and it was like a nice cobalt blue. Very good. Great fade. And then a green one shows up. And if you can't tell, I like green. I'm wearing green. My nails are green. Green's one of my favorite colors. And I was like, oh, that's tempting. And I was like, nah, I don't know. The first like color was like a mint, and I was like, no, it's just not what I... Tempting, but I'll pass. And then he showed this one. And I saw it, and I went, that's the one. That's the one I want. So Kevin had mentioned if there are any available, you could message him. And if there's any, he would sell it if anyone was interested. So I messaged and was like, if this is still available, I would honestly love it so much, because you showed it. And all the others were gorgeous and tempting, but then this one popped up and I was like, that's it. So I got this 4 skein fade. Look at it. Oh my gosh. It's so good. Kevin said he got this color by mixing yellow and brown together, and it just, So it's a 4 skein fade. It's 100% superwash merino 4 ply. So just 100% superwash merino, 438 yards. It's a fingering weight. It looks so good. I have no idea what I'm gonna make. Maybe a Stephen West shawl of some kind that will fade together. I'm speechless because Kevin literally showed it and I was like, Kevin, what did you do? You made me spend money, but it's so good. It's so good. So, Kevin's still new to dyeing and like, it's so good. You would not think Kevin is new at dyeing. Just saying. Anyway, I'll stop gushing because I'm not saying anything meaningful or adding to your life other than this looks gorgeous. Make sure to watch Needles at the Ready to see what Kevin dyes in addition to what they did. So good. Okay, and so then the last skein that I brought in, this doesn't count. This counts as September. But I'm going to show it anyway. So this actually counts for September, but I'm going to show it to you now because I have it and it's really pretty and I want to show it to you. So the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along information got released yesterday and I immediately woke up and like went to my stash because you need 200 grams, 2 skeins of a fingering weight yarn in a main color, 2 skeins, 200 grams in a contrast color, and then 1 accent color skein. And in my stash, I had 2 skeins of this color, which I've shown before. It's Fru Valberg it's dyed for Stephen and Penelope. It is a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards, 100 grams. Gorgeous color. I also have 2 skeins of this, which it's really green. It's funny because it looks really green on the screen and in different light it looks that color green that's on the screen, but right now sitting in this room it looks a lot more mossy. It's a really cool green. So I have 2 skeins of this. One is actually caked up, so it doesn't look as fun to show right now. So these are my 2 main color and contrast color, or main color, contrast color. Probably main color, contrast color. And then I got my accent color. I'm still debating on the accent color. I have a lot of skeins in my stash that could potentially work for the contrast. And as the clues released for the knit along, because it's a mystery, you get 1 clue a week and you kind of knit it and you kind of go, you don't know what you're making. So I can kind of play around. But I did grab this skein from Fancy Tiger because there was only 1 left and I thought it might be a good contender. So this is Nerd String Chartreuse with Envy on her fingering 4-ply base, which is also 100% superwash merino and 438 yards. This is a 75-25. But I think this might be my combo for the knit along, with that green as my accent. Because if the main color and accent, if the main color plays the most with the accent, that'll be really fun. But even if this plays with it, that's also really fun. So I'm thinking this might be my palette. It's a very similar vibe to my fade from Kevin. Can you tell I like green? I'm just embracing it. So yeah, I just thought I would show that. Even though technically this counts as for September. It's just so exciting now. So overall, for the month of August, I brought in 22 skeins of yarn because Tweety was 7, Kumo was 6. So we can see I got out 15 skeins for the month, brought in 22, which is a +7. I always look at this and really double check my math. So at the beginning of August, I was at a -1 for my stash, and with a +7 from September, or from August, I am going into September with a +6, which is in the positive. However, I'm currently working on my For Keeps cardigan for Samantha Gurin as a test knit, and I'm using my Wool of the Andes brass heather, and these are 50 grams each, and I've already used 6 skeins into it. So as long as I finish that this month, which I'm supposed to because the test knit is due this month, that should help with evening that out. And also, guys, I am using 4 skeins out of stash for the Stephen West KAL. I didn't buy any skeins for my main color or contrast color. That's really good. Like, yeah. Shopping your stash is fun. You should do it if you have it. Buying yarn is also fun. Like, finding this color to go with these is great. Anyway. So that is it for this Stash In and Stash Out episode. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. How is your month so far? How was August? Did you get done what you needed to? How are you feeling about your stash? Is there anything you're excited about to start knitting without as we go into the fall? Let me know in the description box. I love reading your comments, and as always, if you liked the video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to know when I post future videos, feel free to subscribe. It's a free way to support the channel and to get us to show to other knitters and to build our little community here in this little corner of the internet. But as always, thank you for clicking, thank you for watching, and I hope you're putting a little bit of love into every stitch of your making, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye!